Throughout history, certain players have earned reputations as enforcers, intimidating opponents and protecting their teammates with their fierce demeanor and hard-nosed style of play. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the top 10 NBA enforcers of all time, celebrating their contributions to the game and the indelible impact they've left on the court. Before we start, make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon. Number 1. Bill Laimbeer. Regarded by many as the dirtiest and most hated player in NBA history, it makes sense to start with Bill Laimbeer. He was the meanest head of the many-headed snake that was the 80s Bad Boys Pistons, who reigned supreme as the most physical team during the league's most physical era. The thing about Laimbeer wasn't just that he loved to foul and violently agitate opponents. It was that he loved how much he was hated for it. He was proud to be hated. The other thing about Laimbeer was that he was a really good player beyond just the body slams and cheap shots, of which there were plenty. Laimbeer would swing his elbows like hammers at a hammer fight. Number 2. Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman's days as an enforcer also started in Detroit, where from 1986 to 1993, he got to learn the ropes from the best in the business. Unfortunately for Pistons fans, Rodman's tricks and talents as an enforcer fully manifested in Chicago. That's where he was the ultimate enforcer for arguably the NBA's greatest team ever. Number 3. Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley was the quintessential NBA enforcer. There are tough guys, and then there is Charles Oakley. A cut above, a different breed altogether. He was a vicious competitor and a leader despite not being the best player on the team. Number 4. Ron Artest. Malice at the Palace will forever be the first thing that comes to mind when Ron Artest's name is brought up. A player so wild that he charged up into the stands to fight someone who threw a beer at him, igniting the most insane melee and night the NBA has ever seen. Number 5. Rasheed Wallace. Good old Rasheed Wallace. You can always count on that guy to start a fight. Wallace is currently the NBA's all-time leader in technical fouls, so he is no stranger to bending the rules. Can you imagine him getting into it with Herb Dean about his grabbing the fence to avoid takedowns? Priceless. Number 6. Rick Mahorn. Older fans of the Boston Celtics recall the rivalry between the Celtics and the Detroit Pistons during Boston's years of contention in the 1980s, and how intense those battles could be. And no small part of that intensity came from bad boy Piston Rick Mahorn, who was one of the team's enforcers in the front court in many a battle with the Celtics. Number 7. Joakim Noah. Joakim Noah, while not a traditional enforcer in the same vein as some of the players previously mentioned, deserves recognition for his tenacity, physicality, and defensive prowess on the basketball court. Standing at 6'11" with exceptional athleticism and a relentless motor, Noah made his mark as a defensive anchor in the paint. He possessed excellent shot-blocking abilities, superb rebounding skills, and a knack for disrupting opponents' plays with his defensive instincts and intensity. Number 8. Draymond Green. The NBA enforcer is supposed to be extinct. There is definitely a general consensus that there are no enforcers left in today's game. However, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Exhibit A is one Draymond Green. If a completely undersized 6'6" and 230-pound second-round draft pick who used his resilient passion and his audacious and assertive ideology to become the defensive anchor and backbone for a modern-day dynasty, and was such a nuisance that he got suspended from the single most important game of his life in the 2016 finals for kicking too many people in the nuts. If all of that doesn't equate to an enforcer, then keep on hanging out at Weenie Hut Juniors while the real hoopheads discuss ball. Number 9. Charles Barkley. Before he became beloved for his inside the NBA shenanigans with Ernie, Kenny, and Shaq, Chuck was one of the most revered and hated players in the game. His attitude was that he didn't give a you-know-what, and that translated seamlessly to his playing style on the court. At 6'4" and 252 pounds, Chuck wasn't as tall as he was big. He loved to talk back then, too. Number 10. Shaquille O'Neal. At 7'1" and 325 pounds, Shaq was born to be an enforcer in the NBA, if only due to his sheer size and gargantuan strength. He sure had the charisma for it too. Shaq knew he was bigger and better than everybody else. He wanted to show you, tell you about it, and make sure you never forgot. But it was already impossible to forget because there was nobody else like him. Shaq's defining moment as an enforcer was when he dunked on top of poor Chris Dudley and then proceeded to two-hand shove Dudley down to the ground. Just dunking on him wasn't enough. Shaq needed another exclamation point, an even more expressive way of declaring, "There is absolutely nothing you can do to stop me." As we celebrate their contributions to the game, let us remember the impact they've had on shaping the identity of the NBA and inspiring future generations of players to compete with passion, intensity, and heart. Who's your favorite NBA enforcer? Did we miss anyone on our list? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.